sound. Foes await you silent all around. Maligned, if they get the chance. They were born in bloody circumstance. To go, leave me, run like you've never run before. A voice from the underground, given room to breathe, not be drowned. So die if you get the chance. Better men than you've been, let this dance. To go, leave me, run like you've never run before. I have seen the worst, and there is nothing left for me to hate, so I can lay me down, my brothers, on the ground. I bled today until Coyote comes to raise me up and carries me away. To go, leave me, run like you never did. No, leave me, run like you never run before.
Good evening, and Allan, straight off,
Instant.
absolutely straight off, right instant away. I may as well just get past it and just keep saying we're recording at night time, so I may as well just get on with it.
Absolutely.
I honestly don't think people care. Also, you should have saved your mistakes for the last 25 minutes.
I know, it seems to be. Hello and welcome to the Scottish Rugby Podcast in association with the Scottish Rugby Blog. I hope you're doing well. I'm Craig. It's been an interesting week and an interesting weekend, and I'm sure we're going to discuss it. But joining me tonight are three Scottish rugby fans who believe it is not time to replace Gregor Townsend. That time was a year ago, after the World Cup. Sorry. Joining me tonight is Jonny, Allan, and Mark. How are you doing, boys?
Very well, thanks, Craig.
I'm excellent because I had the best idea I've had in ages this morning. Would you like to hear it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear my intro, right? Ready? Here we go. I've been working this all day. Hello and welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast, where this week we'll be talking about how making some very well-timed substitutions as the game was starting to get away from us has put us in a great position for the World Cup. See how much better that sounds? We could be talking about that.
I have to say, Allan comes in with the quiet ones in the background. You come in with the actual sensible ones. I'm waiting on Mark come in with these absolutely crazy hot takes.
I would like to say, though, that I'm not angry, Scotland. I'm disappointed.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I'm not surprised.
I'm both.
I'm disappointed. I'm angry.
I can't swear at the moment, but I'm beeping raging. And it's like I'm almost like the boy walking up the street with just my shell suit top on and nothing else, and going, "She's turned the winds against us. Stacey, you have turned the winds against us." Well, we will surely come back to the weekend and to all the conversation that everyone is wanting to talk about. But we have a little bit of news. But first of all, our podcast is part of the Sports Social Network. Don't forget to give us a follow or a like on your favourite podcast app. If you're watching us or listening to us on Apple and you like what we do, please leave us a review as well, please, on the Apple Podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and don't forget to give us a follow on social media. You can find all of our links on our site, www.scottishrugbyblog.co.uk, where you'll find some really good articles as well. And I'm sure there's going to be a few articles explaining why we shouldn't keep Gregor Townsend in the job. Sorry, I just gave it away there, didn't I? Just like all these people that are like, going to read these articles and think, "Oh, where are these going?" If you'd like more content and want to support what we do, you can subscribe to our Patreon from just £3 a month plus of that, and that will give you access to a super secret Facebook group, which is humming at the moment, and the second part of tonight's podcast, where you think this is going to be fun. Wait till we have the shackles off. Pardon me, bit windy pops. As well as Patreon exclusives that will be who's going to be the next Scotland coach and who's going to be the next Scotland coach. And that's probably what we're going to talk about for the next probably 6 weeks. But anyway, we will move on. Gentlemen, the news. Fergus Pringle has been appointed under-20s head coach, with one of the best Scottish scrum halves joining him as an assistant, and also Greg Laidlaw is joining him too. Sean Kennedy.
I smelled that coming, but I still laughed.
You smelled it coming? That's what I like to see. With Kenny Murray's moving away, he's heading on to head of National Talent Pathway, whatever that is. It looks like they're just changing the sticker on his office door. Gentlemen, Fergus Pringle, assistant under-20s coach already. Any thoughts on that?
Did he do the forwards when John DL was away in the summer with the Lions? Have I got that wrong?
No idea.
There's a sea
that shows you how much I've paid attention.
I think he might have done.
Did he? I didn't think he did. I can't remember who did, but
it's all right. I'm Googling as we speak.
The one thing that really confuses me about it is, much as I have a lot of respect for one of them and have watched the other one play, why are you having two scrum halves as assistant coaches? Like, one scrum half, I guess, makes sense. Two scrum halves seems to leave you a little bit light in 14 other positions in terms of coaching inputs.
Well, I'm not entirely sure about that, because every scrum half I've ever played with has an opinion on exactly what everybody else in the squad is doing.
I think also Greg's a standoff, isn't he? Is Greg not a standoff? Have I been not paying attention?
Just as Allan has said, he was Fergus Pringle was forwards coach for Scotland for the men's national team on Skyscanner Pacific Tour. And he's also He's also continuing his coach with Edinburgh Rugby's Academy. Well, that works really well. Anyway, we'll wait and see. I think what Mr. Grieg brings along with him, though, however, is a mixture of management, but also game management and also kicking, etc. Because I don't really remember Sean Kennedy being great at either game management or kicking, but we'll soon find out. Why am I getting that? Because he played for us too.
Unnecessary.
Do you not remember, though, when he lost Glasgow a game by not kicking a ball out last season, Johnny?
Yeah, I do. I remember that very well, Alan. Thank you. That's what that was for.
Poor game management and poor kicking.
Well, congratulations to them all getting put into place, and I hope they do an incredible job, because we're needing the under-20s to come through and come on strong as much as we can. I will put a wee shout out to Cammy Black, who absolutely put the willies up me when he said that Greg Laidlaw had been named Edinburgh coach, and I was like, yes! When? I can't find this on the internet, but that's brilliant, that's amazing. He says, I was only actually talking about it maybe as what's going to happen further down the line. I was like, no!
I literally spent half an hour Googling to find out what I'd missed.
So,
Before
carry
I
on,
realised-
we do. What are you going to say, Johnny?
Is it Greg will be Edinburgh coach when Sean Everett goes to coach Scotland?
Well, well,
That would be
no,
the darkest timeline. Honestly, does anyone else think that the SRU comms department were messing with us as well? Because you're like, SRU announced coaching shake-up. Not that one. And I'm like, you know, and this is not okay.
To be
Well,
fair,
funny,
it's
actually,
about all that they put on socials this week, because they have quite rightly, the entire social media department was just like, I'm not doing this. They've all gone on
Absolutely.
holiday because they
From
put a
what-
couple of things out on Monday afternoon, and it's about 100 comments being like, "Aye, very good. When's Townsend getting fired?" And then they just stop putting stuff out.
Well, the thing is,
It's kind of like, your man.
definitely, and
Like
they,
me
were,
tackling.
they were speaking. I think it was. I don't know if anyone's listened to the Nations pod, but Tom English was. I've messaged all the contacts I have in the SRU several times, and none of them have replied to me yet. And it's like, well, if they're not talking to Tom English, I'm not talking to anybody. We've got no chance of getting in touch with them. So anyway, anyone from the SRU, if you want to talk to us and you want to come out and have a chat, and we'll promise we won't talk about Gregor Townsend. So I had my fingers crossed at that point. So other bits of news: 2026 Nations Championship fixtures have been announced. The first away fixtures will be Argentina v Scotland on the 4th of July. Next, 2026. Then it's South Africa on the 11th of July. Then it's Fiji on the 18th of July, which I don't believe Fiji will probably be playing in South Africa, if I remember correctly. And then it moves on to the autumn, and we get the final. Well, the home rounds. So we're going to be at home against New Zealand on the 6th. Well, the SRU's website and also the Nations Championship thing says 6th to the 8th of November. So they're going to make their minds up of when they're actually going to play. Australia 13th to the 15th, which it'll be one of those days. But then Japan is the 21st of November. So they've already penciled in Japan. So that sounds all right. So
Is it the last round all on the same day?
yeah, well, they've got a weekend of there's
else.
the last rounds, and
Yeah.
then they've got a weekend of finals
So they
in
do.
London.
Yeah.
And Scotland head coach Gregor Townsend was quoted as saying,
Can I just
"Who
make a
cares?
point of
Well,
order?
who cares? He's not going to be coaching
Can-
by that point, is he?" So
Can
anyway,
we start for the rest of the pod to refer to him as Scotland head coach for now, Gregor Townsend? Just to be
well, you just totally blew my joke there, Johnny, by talking about that. So thanks very much. But anyway, we'll move on. So yeah, Nations Championship, gentlemen. What's your thoughts on it? Is it a poor man's World Cup, or is it actually going to be fun? It just seems like to me that they're basically officialising the summer tour and the autumn Nations Cup.
Yeah, it's we can't even swear yet. It's not even Patreon. It's classic World Rugby behaviour, I guess, is the word that I could still use just now, because it's just shut out a bunch of teams for basically no reason. I heard that all of the summer ones are going to be based in a country, so that Scotland won't fly from Argentina to South Africa and then on to wherever they're playing, Fiji. All 3 games for each Northern Hemisphere country is going to be in the same Southern Hemisphere country, which, from a player welfare and travel point of view and climate change point of view, probably makes sense. From a engaging fans point of view, if I'm an Argentinian fan and instead of getting Scotland and England and whoever coming to Buenos Aires, I've now got to potentially fly to Johannesburg to watch my team play a home game, I'd be fizzing.
Mhm.
It just seems quite poor. If I was Tonga, Samoa, the USA, any of these other countries, I'd be equally fizzing. It just like it's the rich get richer serves who they want to serve. Really, this idea, isn't it? I don't.
To be fair, do you think that's not
Some
what's
some
happening
nice
in the
looking,
world?
quite fun games, and at least it's a bit of a. Well, yeah, and it's a bit of a. I guess it's a kickback against people who say why does rugby have so many friendlies? Because we keep having to say there's no such thing as friendlies, and now that there's an actual tournament, it is no such thing as a friendly anymore. It just seems like it's not well organised or not well thought through. I think it's an opportunity that's been blown. I think.
For me, I agree totally. But I think they're trying to fix a problem that doesn't exist. They're trying to say, let's improve engagement by making this a tournament with a shield at the end. What? So South Africa, England, and France and New Zealand can play off in the semis again. All right, great. I don't care. And to be perfectly honest, I wouldn't care more about, looking at the fixture list, I wouldn't care more about the Argentina-Scotland game in the Nations Cup, because it's now part of the Nations Cup, than I would have anyway, or than I did on Sunday. I don't think rugby fans, we call it a friendly only because it's not up for silverware, albeit they've invented about 100 different types of silverware over the last few years. But we call it friendly. It's not friendly. Everybody's caring, and I'm not going to care anymore just because it's part of this Nations Cup, whatever that is. It's not going to increase my engagement as a fan, I wouldn't have thought.
It's going to decrease our engagement if we have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch us get beat by South Africa.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I believe there is going to be a second tier sorted out, and there's going to be Portugal, USA, all in the second tier. Georgia, Wales. Sorry.
That's really this promotion relegation.
What? So Wales get promoted to the second tier?
They get promoted to the second tier. It's can I just say this one thing? There was a bit. I think I was speaking to our friend David on the Scrum of the Earth, and I was saying it was just like every time Wales seemed to get the ball and what's his name, Blair Thingy, the fullback,
Blair
Murray constantly chased the ball around on the ground. All I heard was wah, wah, wah in my head. It was just like, oh my word. Anyway, so yeah.
Do you know what I think every time I see him? Is that we definitely got the good end of the bargain on the fact that there's a guy called Blair Murray playing for Wales and a guy called Hugh Jones playing for Scotland, because someone got shafted in that deal and it was not us.
It wasn't a vintage weekend for people called Blair at fullback, though, was it?
No, but I've got a fairly I have got a defensive take on that one, and we'll maybe talk about that further down the line because I think there's been the problem we have is that there is an awful lot of. Did you say something there and I didn't hear you because I was just concentrating on being professional? Alan,
you said you had a defensive take, and I suggested that Mr. Kinghorn might have had a defensive take, but it seemed to be absent on Sunday.
Going to ignore that comment, and could you time mark that so we can scrub it out of the podcast? Thank you very much. So, anyway, yeah, I don't know. The Nations Championship, just as you say, I think it seems to be a way of. I've got a feeling that there's obviously going to be some sort of kickback to World Rugby, and I think it's a way of monetising the tours and the Autumn Nations games that weren't. Most of the money was going back to the two nations that are playing, and I think the World Rugby have decided that they want a little bit more money in their own hands, I'm sure. And then, as our friends in the Blood and Mud podcast said on Monday night, what's going to happen if this succeeds in any way. We're going to end up playing in Dubai. Or some sort of country that's got lots of oil money to prop it up. So. We'll wait and see what happens. But the only thing I can be pleased about is the fact that we are going to be playing better teams more often, because we're not. Because I do tend to find that, and especially, for example, this weekend, I don't. We're going to have a hard 20 minutes with Tonga, and then we're going to just accelerate on when they get tired, and it's going to be an interesting weekend. And I'd rather have sort of tough games for a lot more. However, I'm probably talking out of turn because we'll probably find out that Tonga is a tough game this weekend, so we'll wait and see. But anyway, I've tried to delay it as much as I can, boys, but we're going to have to do something that we'll have to talk about this at some point. At the weekend, Scotland 24, Argentina 33. The score line from the weekend allows me to do this, though, and bring this back for a little visit.
Insight, foresight, more sight. The clock on the wall reads midnight.
The Tuesday clock has arrived again, and I think it's at 5 to midnight, or maybe 30 seconds to midnight for Gregor Townsend. 2 tries from Ewan Ashman, one from the old Australian Jack Dempsey. Actually, that was a beautifully taken try. Scotland a 21-0 lead by 45 minutes. And then the old homophobe Pablo Matera, Rodrigo Isgro, Julian Montoya, father to another son, and Pedro Rubolio, and Justo Picardo all scored tries in the second half to absolutely slap Scotland around and show them how going missing for 20 minutes can really damage you. Gentlemen, we may as well get into the weekend. First of all, the game. Your thoughts on the game, Mark?
I was doing the watch back today, knowing that we were coming on tonight, and I was still convinced we were going to win. So I just turned it off at halftime and thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought that was the easiest way. We scored a try. Dempsey's try was scored against 14. I actually think they'd have scored that try against 15. It was well worked. It was beautifully taken. It was good going.
Finity's best.
Yeah, absolutely. But then to go 21-0 up after 42 minutes, I didn't realise until I was genuinely running through it today that pass that we're talking about, Finn's floated pass, which I do think was unnecessary, but that's what Finn brings, right? You know, one of them's going to score a try, one of them's going to cause an intercept. I think the big difference was for Ashman's try. I didn't count the phases for Ashman's try. It was the commentary team that said it. 19 phases before Ashman went over, right? In the lead up to that intercept, there were 8 phases. Why the lack of patience and throw a Hail Mary looping pass? Just keep at it. You know, that's clearly what was working. We were drawing their defence in. And I feel that was a wee bit precipitous at that stage. But that's not what caused the capitulation. It was discipline that did. Penalty after penalty after penalty. That intercept try, yeah, it was a mistake. But at 21-0 up, I still thought we had the game tucked up, right?
How about though 21? No, I can't remember if they converted the breakaway try or not, but 21-7, and with the player in the bin, and then suddenly that's not a 14-point swing; it becomes a 21-point swing.
Yeah,
and that it was that, and actually it's hard. I get why Kinghorn did what he did, trying to stop the try, but it's almost take a breath, and there's worse things than letting a try in when you're 21-0 up. But letting that try in and getting a yellow card when they've got their noses up and their dander up, then that is problematic, and so it proved.
Yeah, but I was under the impression though that, if I'm right in saying, Kinghorn didn't get a yellow card for what he did at that point. He was offside, and it was a build-up of offside, if I'm right in saying. that he got the yellow card. Am I? You know?
Yeah, it wasn't a single. It wasn't a single instance for Kinghorn. It was multiple offsides in the red zone.
And we had two first in the first half. We had 2 offsides by Darcy Ray, one after the other, and then things like Elliot Miller-Mills going over the top of a ruck once the ruck had been formed and being told 3 times to leave it alone. No, kept going. And I think we talk about everybody, and I hate it when every pundit from a different country says that Scotland are weak-minded. And then you look at everything that we've had over the last year, all the games we've had over the last year, and we go missing, and we give away penalties. Very much in the it's very much in the Edinburgh mould. Edinburgh do exactly the same thing, and Glasgow do a little bit of it. They are getting better at it, but discipline between the 2 Scotland professional teams and Scotland is horrendous.
Yeah,
and I think it just. Anyway, yeah, I'm trying to be positive at the beginning here, so I don't swear.
So that's interesting because I, as you know, I wasn't at the game. I was in a pub watching it, but we didn't get the best. I'd assumed it was for a yellow card for professional foul for Kinghorn, so that's there's a lot more mitigation in that.
No, I was under the impression it was multiple offence card.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure it was an offside. Because he was offside apparently when he came in, but Jonny, to go back to positives, Ewan Ashman seems to be regaining a bit of form and a bit, took a couple of good tries. I think the first one was a classic sort of Jamie Ritchie-esque twist and turn. I think Stuart McInally used to do that as well. So Ewan Ashman, he's getting his darts right now, and he's seeming to perform around the park no matter how badly he runs, Jonny.
Yeah, one of the most frustrating things is how many positives there were at halftime. I'd been at minis training on Sunday morning, and me and the other coaches have been trying to drill into them how important it is to be coming on at pace when you get the ball. And I'd actually, just after his first try, text our parents group to say, if everybody's sitting watching the game at home, can everyone please watch the speed that Ewan Ashman's coming at when he gets the ball, because that's exactly what we've been talking about. He was powering every single time. Jack Dempsey, I don't think I've ever seen anyone play for Scotland who makes positive meters as often as Jack Dempsey does. It's like you're guaranteed that he's going to go forwards. So watching the 2 of them in the first half, you were thinking, this is really good. Like, this is what Scotland have been missing. Like you said it when you were on with David, Craig, like a little bit of power in the forwards, a little bit of grunt going forward when we've got the ball in the pack is something that we've been missing for ages. And then even when Finn's interception happened, I felt exactly the same about it as I did when England got their try in the Six Nations, because that wasn't a try in the Six Nations. But when that happened and when that interception happened on Sunday, both times I was like, it's fine, let them have it. It's one try. We're so dominant, it doesn't matter. And then all of a sudden it's completely crumbled.
But isn't that the mental weakness there? It's the crumbling that's the mental weakness. And, there's that stat of what Scotland in the last 6 games and how many points have scored versus how many have they conceded.
Criminal.
The reason I took the timestamp for the pass and the card, they're both broadly the same, about 53 minutes, right? Is because there's 27 minutes of game time left at that point, at which point Argentina scored 33 points. More than a point a minute in the last 25 of a game where we were utterly dominant for the first 45. That's not just one pass that does that. There's something going on. Whether it's a mental fall down or what, I don't know.
So, and people are rightly saying it's not Finn's fault. It wasn't just the pass. But on the other hand, the flip side of that is Finn is the fly half. He's a senior player and he's a vice captain. There is some responsibility that has to be shouldered by him, along with the other senior players in the leadership group, for these repeated capitulations. And I don't like saying that because I love Finn, but there is.
But the thing is, though, like you'd feel relatively confident saying that Finn's gone back under the post there and gone, yeah, I probably messed that up. I should not have thrown that, but it's one try. We're still dominant. We're still 21-7 up. I don't think Finn's saying, oh, guys, the sky's falling here. That's coming from somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's saying it. It's just happening. They believe that the sky's about to fall. That's part of the problem.
There was a part of the game where I can't remember if it was between Argentina's first and second tries or their second and third try. But at one point, they had a break up their left wing. And you could see it very clearly. And I was kind of running out of steam for writing down bad stuff at that point. But you could see it really clearly. They had way more numbers than we did. Suddenly, our defense had crumbled. They had something like, I'm making up the numbers, but it looked to me at a glance to be something like an 8-3 overlap. We were spread around and they'd sent all their boys down the left-hand channel, and it was stark when you saw it. I'll go back and see if I can find the timestamp for it, because suddenly it looked like we were egg chasing,
Well, we've got to talk about it then. People were tired.
Well, that was my next point, Johnny.
I suspect that's exactly what the reason was.
And now we're on the open pod, I may as well talk about it now, but people are putting a fair bit of shade Blair Kinghorn's way, and I'm not defending how he has played, because he has played fairly poorly over the last couple of games. But if you think he's been Six Nations, then he's playing for however, into European finals, didn't get to the final but went to semi-finals. Then he's immediately away to Lions. Then he's back up and he's back into top 14 rugby. And whether people realise it or not, I may be talking to many people out there that know very much about rugby, but those of you who don't know much about rugby, Blair Kinghorn, if there's a break in the week, so there's a weekend that Scotland are not playing, he has to fly home and play a game on the weekend for Toulouse and then fly back again. The guy, I personally feel he's knackered, and we're looking at a lack of bench use. Erasmus, who has won 2 World Cups now, brings on a fresh bench at 60 minutes. Everybody, what's the use of having a 6-2 split when you don't use? I know it was a 5-3 for Argentina, but what's the use of having these people on the bench, game changers on the bench, and not using them? And I think, somebody, I don't know who it was that said it, but looking at Jamie Dobie, he looked absolutely knackered.
Yeah.
And these guys have played hard against. Sorry,
I think it was me that said it on our chat.
So it's like, what are we doing here? And that's where the Townsend side of things comes into it, because we can all turn around and say, well, the players are weak, and Finn caused this, and Blair Kinghorn caused that. And I'll let you guys talk in a second, because I'm just trying not to rail on about it, but there were players on the bench that are game changers who can come on and change a game. And
to have those 3 backs on the bench and see the way that game was going and only bring on Duhan van der Merwe is bordering on negligence. What are you doing? Why are players of the caliber and quality and game-changing ability of George Horne and Tom Jordan sitting on the bench where we could see Jamie Dobie and Blair Kinghorn in particular out on their feet, and you've got world-class players in those positions sitting on the bench, and the only person you bring on is Duhan van der Merwe. Now, Duhan is an excellent player. He's a really good attacker. He will score you a couple of tries and he will change a game, but he's not a versatile player. He's not Tom Jordan. Why is Tom Jordan not coming on?
And Duhan's not changing how the team are operating from out there on the wing. That's no. I was conscious of it. The Argentinian Felipe Contepone, the Argentinian coach, after we had scored to go 21-0 up just inside the second half, clearly decided a change was necessary, and he brought on 5 subs, including his whole front row and Santi Carreras. And look, they completely changed the game. We waited a further 10 minutes and brought on Duhan.
I think there's possibly some mitigation, though, in that I think we were forced into using 2 subs a lot earlier than we planned. Matt Fagerson came on early and Elliot Miller-Mills had to come on early. But I think you're right. There's no justification for not using George Horn or Tom Jordan. And it just felt like Townsend was like a rabbit in the headlights. It genuinely, like the Bola Batuini's going, oh no, not again, Duhan.
He
And it just
brought on Bayliss and Turner at 71 minutes. 9 minutes left, you're changing your hooker.
There's no way you can change a game at that, and I'm sorry
Can't do
that
anything
this
about
isn't.
that.
I'd see the point if it was the All Blacks game where Damien McKenzie comes on, where you change a few people to at last minute to try and cover him. But I know that Hutchison was running around with a slight injury. I know he came off, but why put Stein into 13 when you've got Tom Jordan? You could put Jordan into 12 and move Sione out to 13.
I don't sure he's not as good attacking at 13. He's excellent in defence there, and that's what we bloody needed.
Yeah.
I genuinely think having Duhan as 23 was a mistake, and I think that
I'd have had Kyle Rowe. I'd have put Kyle Rowe at 23 so that you can bring off Blair King.
We remind you guys we are still in the public pod.
Oh, what did I say?
It's all right. I've got it.
unless you count Kyle Rowe as swearing.
Now, it's probably fine.
But if you look at, for example, like even Blair Kinghorn could have gone to the wing, and you could have put Tom Jordan to 15. But I think it's just, if you're going to drop Duhan van der Merwe, you drop Duhan van der Merwe. You don't put him in the wing because he came off you don't put him on the bench because he is not a player that changes games. He isn't. George Horn, Tom Jordan are both players that can change a game. I don't see Duhan being someone who can change a game because
Kyle Rowe could have covered wing and fullback.
Yeah. Well, even if Dobie can cover the wing, and you bring on George Horn.
Genuinely think we should have actually had the 6-2 split. I think part of the problem was bringing Bayliss. We had Bayliss to come on in the second row, and he's played there for Bath, but actually, a bit more grunt up front, particularly when we had to use Miller-Mills and Matt Fagerson so early. I think would have been good.
Yeah, going for any bench 5-3 or 6-2 without a second row on the bench seems foolhardy because even if you're saying, well, Gregor Brown's a second row, and let's be honest, Gregor Brown's a 5-6, probably 5/6. Even if he doesn't get injured, you're still asking somebody to move into the second row, having played 60 minutes in the back row.
Yeah.
Rather than bringing on a fresh second row to shore up your scrum.
To be fair, second row's easy though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. You just push, right?
All they do is just keep me from falling backwards a little bit. Anyway, at this point, as things are starting to get a bit heated, what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the Patreon side of the podcast, and we'll call it quits for just now.
I was just going to add a wee bit of information that I think has escaped all you guys, and it certainly escaped me until I watched it back today and was listening to one of the pods. He did, in fact, put Jordan on.
Yeah,
79.5 minutes.
At 80 minutes. Yeah.
So we will, on that bombshell, we will move on to the Patreon. Thank you all for listening. Thanks to Jonny, Allan, and Mark for joining us tonight. I hope you all have a good weekend, and I hope we all have a good weekend. I'm sure against Tonga we should have a good weekend, and then we will come back next week, and we'll talk a little bit more about the whole Autumn Nations and see what we can do about this pickle. All right. Thank you so much, and thanks, lads, and thank you for joining us tonight. And patrons, we'll see you in a minute.
Thanks, folks.
Bye.
Right, I'm going to do the same with the mute button and then kill all the streams. Or are you driving, Johnny?
I've got it, yeah. No worries.
Okay, cool. In that case, I'm going to go pour a glass of wine. I'm going to need one for this.
We should have that sound of Craig opening the can and pouring as the opening for the Patreon. What's Larry did I do, by the way? Did anyone hear?
I don't think you did. Either I'm just so attuned to it that I didn't notice, but I don't think you swore. Could be wrong.
No, it wasn't a bad one. You just said something like bloody ridiculous.
Oh, that's
fine,
okay.
that's
We're
fine.
allowed that.
Yeah.
BBC
We're allowed
allow
that.
it. So.
Right.
Allowed.
I wasn't sure. That's why I said it was a mild one, but I wasn't sure.
Fuck you, bloody.
Promises.
It's a meme. It's a GIF or a meme or whatever. Fuck it. The modern day languages. Anyway, our lovely patrons, how you doing tonight? I hope you've had a good week, and I hope you've not turned yourselves inside out too much. I certainly have, and I've been just hating rugby this week for a little while, and thinking, why the fuck have we not replaced this guy before now? And I think we've had this before, and obviously joining us tonight is Mark, Allan, and Jonny again on the Patreon side of things. Guys, we've had this problem before of Gregor Townsend not using his bench properly, and especially George Horn, who just seems to, if I was George Horn, I'd be thinking about going and spending some time in France or something like that to actually, because this is getting fucking poor.
Townsend certainly wants them to get to France.
And
Sorry,
I always feel
one
like
at a time, please, boys.
when we're speaking about George Horn, I always feel like, Craig, that you and I have to declare that, like, I think we probably have a bit of a homer opinion when it comes to George Horn, but I don't think it's inaccurate. I think our assessment of him is a lot better than Townsend's is. Like, I don't know what he's done to him, but that not bringing him on particularly on Sunday afternoon was absolutely fucking criminal.
Yeah. I mean, Jamie Dobie. I mean, Jamie Dobie's clearly a phenomenal player. His kicking from hand, I thought, was just absolutely fabulous at the weekend. His clearance box kicks were massive. They were superb. But the ball in playtime in that match was huge. And Dobie, the scrum half, we all know the scrum half's got to be at every single ruck, right? That's why it's such an attritional position fitness-wise. And he was ragged by about 60-odd minutes.
He did make a couple of poorish decisions. He kicked a couple of times when he really shouldn't have, and things like that. But when you're running around as much as he was, just as you say, Mark, and your decisions do get hampered slightly.
Also, he's a young player, and we've got to allow him. You've got to allow him a bit of flex in his decision making. Heaven knows we did that with Finn, and also it felt like that Scotland performance had cancer. And honestly, complaining about Dobie's decision making is a bit like cleaning its fingernails.
Yeah, I wasn't complaining about him. I was just pointing out a matter of fact,
George Horn's the kind of player, he reminds me of back in the day when Nico Matawalu used to play for Glasgow, that they'd run him on with 10 minutes to go and the opposition are going, oh, holy shit. Because you've no idea what's going to happen now. Because you're bringing on a guy that's rapid, he'll take you on, keep the back row honest, etc., etc. And George Horn's got a bit of that about him. To not bring him on in that game was mental.
I still firmly believe that we'd have won the England game in the Six Nations if we'd had George Horn on the bench and not Jamie Dobie. Because there's a minute at the end of that England game where Stafford McDowell breaks through, and on the England 5, he gets tackled and he rolls around looking for a pass and there's no one there. And one thing that you could absolutely guarantee with George Horn is that if you make a line break, he will be there.
He's running the line.
And that's what we needed.
And I will say this: I actually thought our ruck speed was slower this game.
I think you're right, but you know what? I've actually taken in my notes, and this sounds like I'm down on Dobie. I think Dobie's a phenomenal player. I think he's going to be our scrum half for years, and rightly so. But there are a lot of time he seems to almost have a wee bit of a wind-up going on with his pass. Almost like he's pulling the trigger when he's passing from the base. And I noticed it only on the watch back today. Chris Custer used to do it. Chris Custer used to take a half step before he passed. Used to drive me absolutely nuts. And I think Dobie's got a wee bit of that, whereas Horn from the base is far more, old style bullet. He'd be diving if you could get away with it in this day and age, So I think, and that's enough to take half a second off the ruck speed every ruck.
Can I just say this is an excellent point
every time
from Brian as well. George Horn is an absolutely peerless shithouse. And as soon as Matera came on, George Horn should have been on. Because if they'd brought George on with Pablo Matera on that field, Matera would have been off again. I'd almost guarantee it.
Yes. Yeah, that's very valid. Yeah.
On a completely unrelated note, did you hear the commentator say that Matera was the best Argentina had to offer? And I was like, oh, mate, that's a burn.
Well, we have discussed this before, Alan, that he is the complete package.
It's a complete package.
So, Townsend out. Are we all agreed that it's time? It definitely is time. It really, 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 really is time.
Yes.
One of the
time was October 2019, but it's now really, really time.
He should have gone after the World Cup. I was wavering previously, not before they gave him his contract. I still think he should have gone in 2019. But I was beginning to waver, going, well, it's too close to the World Cup now. We got to suck up, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, after this result and even the previous weeks that we should have won, how bad can it be? Just get him hoid out and get somebody else in.
Sorry, Craig. One of the striking things. Oh, sorry.
I was asking you what you were going to say, Alan.
Okay. I was just going to say it anyway. I mean, I thought you'd known. One of the striking things is the number of people on the Scottish Rugby Forum who were support the coach, support the boys, #backing blue, that are now, Townsend needs to go. And that is really, really striking. And there's a number of people who have previously got quite annoyed with fans saying we should change the coach. And it really feels as a sea change amongst the Scotland support that Gregor should really get a firm handshake. Best wishes for his future endeavours and his P45.
I've noticed.
Off you go into the Red Bull Mini.
Yeah. I've noticed a sea change on the socials as well. Blue Sky, I did go and have a wee look on the Dart place as well, and got out before I got badly infected. But yeah, it's the same. People who would previously have been supporting him are now going, nah, enough now. Enough.
Well, I
now.
was one of them. I was a waverer just like yourself, Mark, and I've gone from I think it's time for him to move on to actually, you know what, who else can do the job, and he has produced a green patch for Scotland, but we're at a point now that it's not really a knee-jerk reaction anymore, because we're now at a situation where what is the worst that could happen? We couldn't win anything. Well, we can't win anything at the moment.
Yeah.
Am I not right?
And I said this on Blue Sky on Sunday, right? It's not losing to Argentina. Argentina are a good team. Argentina have beaten the All Blacks this year. They've beaten the Springboks this year. They pasted Wales last week. That's not exactly an achievement, but they fucking properly hammered them. They've beaten good teams. They've absolutely destroyed bad teams. Losing to them isn't bad. If we'd lost to them in a close game, then fine. You lost to a good team in a close game. You should not be 21-0 up and cruising against anyone and then sit there and watch them bring on a bench that changes the game and do absolutely fucking nothing.
Yeah,
He did zero.
Ship more than a point a minute.
Yeah.
Possibly
And
even
like,
25%
your point
of
was
the
really
bench.
good. Contemporary, as soon as we scored the third try, Contemporary went, right, shit. Get five new players on. Let's change something. Let's do something
We
different.
need to change
On
it.
Saturday, Rassie changed both his props in the first 15 minutes. Bonefenter got hooked, and the other new guy got hooked.
Yeah.
Sharpish, because they were struggling against Italy. And as soon as they started struggling, he hooked them and he brought on new props.
Yeah.
Contemporary brought on his whole bench when it looked like the game was getting out of their hands. And we sat and watched Argentina come back into a game that they were dead and buried in, by the way. We were all over them, and 21 points up, and he did fuck all. And like, how do you survive that? How do you walk into a meeting with your boss or an interview with Tom English or anything like that, and when they say, why did you not do anything to change what was going wrong, go, well, I don't know. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I mean, it smacked to me of panic. Almost, rabbit in the headlights. I don't know what to do.
And
he's
if you're
been
panicking like
years
that
in
after
fucking
nearly 10
government.
years of the job,
Yeah.
how have you still got the job?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But the thing is, and Allan, we're looking at a very, very good Argentinian side. We're looking at a bench and an Argentinian bench that it's almost like, well, in fact, Contepomi came out and said, I have to rest some of my players, and so that's why we have Carreras, etc., on the bench. But Allan, surely Townsend could do a very, very similar job in that you have a set of game changers on your bench. You maybe start off with a slightly weaker side, like Miller Mills comes, on at prop. Who else was what other prop was it that was on the bench?
Nathan
Macbeth. Start them, and then bring on your big men like fucking Argentina did. The problem, surely there's something that could be done, Allan.
Yeah, I mean, Gregor used to play one good scrummaging and one weaker scrummaging prop, and then have the same on the bench, just on opposite sides. I think there's more we could have done with the bench. For example, could Blair Kinghorn have been a bench player? Could we have had Kyle Steyn at fullback, for example, Duhan starting, and then Steyn coming on later on? That would have given us much more versatility.
We should have had Kyle Rowe instead of Duhan. Whether that was Kyle Rowe starting and Kinghorn on the bench, or Kinghorn starting and Kyle Rowe on the bench. Duhan, like you said in the public pod, Craig, Duhan brings nothing if he's on the bench. If he's not starting, there's no point in playing him. And he's been, let's be absolutely clear about this, he's been outplayed by Kyle Steyn. He has quite rightly lost his job to Kyle Steyn. Until he can prove that he can get it back, you don't sacrifice basically the entire setup of your team to crowbar him onto the bench just because he's the guy who scores all the tries because people get excited to see him. Get Kyle Rowe on the bench with some options, let Duhan go away and take his medicine for a while, and then when he can win that shirt back off of Kyle Steyn or off of Darcy, if that's how he wants to do it, then let him come back in. But we shouldn't be wrecking the bench to shoehorn him in. Because like you said, Craig, Blair Kinghorn is fucking exhausted. Exhausted.
Yeah,
I think there's also, look, we've got 3 good wingers, 4 if you include Kyle Rowe, which we should. They will get plenty of game time when one or other's injured. It's not like it's not like Duhan's never going to play for Scotland again. Both Kyle Steyn and Darcy have had a fair whack of injuries. It's fine to have options and players that can come in. It's a case of the jersey will be yours again when it's vacant. That's fair. And I agree with you, Kyle Rose should have been featuring. I would have had Rose starting at fullback and Kinghorn on the bench, I think. And then you've got another versatile, potentially game-changing player that could come on.
Well, Blair Kinghorn is a game changer, and this is the thing.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's. I'm just echoing what you're saying, Alan. Blair Kinghorn is a game changer, and I would be fearful as a coach if I saw George Horn, Tom Jordan, and Blair Kinghorn on a bench, because you know that all of those three players, if you look at their club form and their Scotland form, not so much George Horn because he doesn't get a chance to fucking play, but you look at their Scotland form and they are players who are electric but also have a lot to prove, and in a Scotland shirt, and I would fear that, and I don't understand why you would have George Horn on the bench and not fucking use him.
Yeah,
and why bother?
Do you think that Townsend's too nice and too nostalgic and too attached? Do you think that he's said, like, Blair Kinghorn's our guy, Blair Kinghorn's our fullback, Blair Kinghorn should be played fullback, Duhan's our record try scorer, people come to see Duhan has to get his chance? Do you think he's not ruthless enough? Because these players aren't stupid. I think if you said to Blair Kinghorn, Blair, you're on the bench today because you're shattered and we'll get you 20 minutes at the end because you'll change the game, Blair Kinghorn's not a fucking idiot. He's going to go, brilliant. That sounds great. I think he's too nice. He's not ruthless enough, and he's got the guys that he's like, these are the people who should be playing. I don't know
about that. I'm not entirely sure, Johnny, because I think it's the other way around. I would say, not that he's hard, that's wrong. I'm trying to agree with you, but not agree with you. What I think is more the fact of, I think he's stuck in his ways. Blair Kinghorn, everyone would be screaming for him across the rafters, saying, why the fuck are you not playing Blair Kinghorn? Because Blair Kinghorn plays full-back and wing for the best club in the world, and he is performing incredibly well. Now, I know what he would then turn and say, I'm not playing him because he's knackered and we're giving him a break, etc. But I think he's going, I can't not play him, but then he goes and does something with Duhan where it's the same thing. However, I think the Scottish fans have turned slightly on Duhan and gone, well, actually, we've watched him and we've watched his defence, especially when he went away with the Lions, and his defence under the high ball and his defence at the back was quite awful. So the Scotland fans have started to turn slightly. Now, if the Scotland fans start to turn a little bit on Blair Kinghorn, he's not as good as everyone thinks he is, then you might see Townsend actually bringing in Kyle Rowan. But I honestly, for some reason, I've just got it in my mind that he listens too much to fans.
So the other people, and this is starting to get a bit conspiracy theory-ish, the other people potentially that I always think might be involved in this and who you might be listening to is, if you are in the SRU and you're charging people 85, 90 quid a ticket for an Autumn International, and Gregor says, well, see this game against Argentina, I'm going to rest Duhan, I'm going to rest Blair Kinghorn, I might give Finn 40 minutes, I'm going to get Tom Jordan in for a while, I'm going to bring Kyle Rowan, I'm going to bring Kyle Stein in. Do you think they're going, people aren't going to pay 90 quid a ticket to not see Blair and not see Duhan and not see Finn, so no, you're not?
I think you're giving Townsend too much credit. I think he's just not that good. I heard years ago, might have been Blood and Mud, long number of years ago, saying that basically the coach's main job on match day is to pick the team, pick the bench, and use the bench. Everyone else is done by then, right? That's all he had to do. And he's picked a bad bench and used it badly. And he's done that time and time again. That's no niceness. It wasn't niceness that made him not run on George Horn and Tom Jordan. That was being not very good.
The one time I can think of Townsend using the bench well was in the 38 all draw at Twickenham. In 57 minutes, he brings on Chris Harris, Greg Laidlaw, Fraser Brown, Johnny Gray, and Josh Strauss. And I remember seeing those changes and thinking, fucking hell, we might actually do this. Look who's come on.
But do we not also know that not a lot of that was him? Like that, it's been fairly well documented since then that the players at halftime were like, "This is a fucking shambles," and Finn in particular was like, "I'm going to sort this out now." So that wasn't him.
Well,
That was the
Well, the
one game where the players were like,
substitutions
"We've had enough of this."
the only
The
thing I would
substitutions were still.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is slightly against what you're saying, Johnny, is the fact that 50,000 of us went and watched fucking USA v Scotland and in a basically a fucking waste of a time game.
I think what will do for Townsend though is that people aren't going to keep doing that for long. I'm not going to any Six Nations games this year because it's England and France and they're £110 a ticket, and that's including kids. There's no kids tickets. So as long as we're not winning anything, you cannot keep putting the prices up. So eventually, something's got to give. And if it's the fact that now there is no longer sellouts because we can't be trusted to close out a game, and we're watching these heartbreaking defeats and these complete capitulations again and again and again, people stop paying that money for a ticket. And at some point, that'll be the thing that does for him, I think.
Yeah. So
And that won't take long.
No,
I have another slight branch to this whole conversation as well. And we'll come back to maybe who'll replace Townsend if he does go in a minute. But I also feel, and I think we touched on it on the main pod, on the open to public pod. We don't have a captain who's feared in the Scotland team. And I'm taking it away from Townsend at the moment. We've got vice captains, and we've got joint captains, and we've got a captain. Now, somebody said I think it was David actually on the Scrum the Earth said to me, "Is Sione the right guy for the job? Should we be changing captain?" Now, I like Sione. I think the guys respect him, and that's what you want from a captain. You need someone, but I also believe that you need someone. For example, and I'm going to say this, and Johnny, I have not been replaced by someone.
it's the name that's in my head, and I was wondering if you were going to say it.
The old Australian
Yep.
would take you at heart. Like you'd be giving away stupid penalties for 10 minutes. You'd be behind the posts, and he would be banging fucking heads. And if you look at all the, like, for example, if you look at DuPont, for example, you don't want to fucking mess with him. You look at some of the great captains out there that play for all these teams around the world, and you think to yourself, the captains, you don't fuck with the captain. And I think you're talking about them being too respectful or too nice. When it's going to shit, we have nobody on that team because Finn, no matter what anybody says, Finn cares and Finn is this and Finn is that. I understand he's a great player, but I don't see Finn as somebody who I would turn around and go, "Yes, Finn, no problem, sir," whatever, because he doesn't come across as someone who gives a fuck. Now, I know that's his style, but you want someone who's got fire and brimstone that'll knock heads together. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're absolutely right.
Think about the days when Jason White was captain.
Yeah.
You'd much rather like get mullered in a tackle than turn round and face your captain after dropping off one. And you think of the great captains, you're absolutely right. They're all people that you'd be more scared of your captain than the opposition. And I think that's, Martin Johnson, Tana Umaga, that caliber of person.
Yeah.
Yeah, even folk like Kieran, what's his name, the All Black,
Kieran Reid.
Kieran Reid. No matter whether
You wouldn't have missed that many penalties if Paul O'Connell was captain.
Fuck no.
No.
Because Paul O'Connell would have gone over to the bench and brought somebody else on himself. You know what I mean? He's that sort of, and that's where I'm kind of sitting. Because I to everyone who's listening, I am not 100% down the route of this is all Townsend's fault. I think there's a lot I think it's a good 80%, but players go missing for Edinburgh, players go missing, or the team goes missing for Glasgow at times, not as much as Edinburgh, and that obviously leaks into the Scotland team. And Edinburgh, sorry, what are you going to say, John?
So I think you're absolutely bang on about captain, right? I think you're right. That's what you want on the field. But those missed tackles and those stupid penalties and those collapses, the bad decisions, you don't want to go into the dressing room and face Rassie Erasmus after you've done that. You don't want to go in the dressing room and face Eddie Jones after you've done that. You don't want to go into the dressing room and face Andy Farrell after you've done that. Are you scared of going to see Townsend after you've done that?
Townsend's the coaching equivalent of a gentle parent. Mummy will be cross if you give away another penalty.
You know who, and you know who kicks fucking things around in the change room and goes nuts because we watched them on the Six Nations documentary. Steve Tandy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking to the Scotland players. He sounded like a coach that I would fucking run through a wall for. And this is where and I totally agree with you all when it comes to, you know, I would have I always remember. I don't know if anyone's watched Moneyball.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know it well.
Yeah. Have you watched Moneyball, Alan?
No, I haven't seen it.
No. Brad Pitt comes into the baseball locker and they've just lost for about the 6th time in a row or whatever, 8th time in a row, and they're playing music and one guy's dancing on the table, and he just comes in he gets a baseball bat and rattles fuck out of the boombox that's playing the music, and he says, you're happy about losing. You're happy about losing. And he's knocking shit over, and it goes complete silence. And he goes, "That's what losing fucking sounds like." And that is the sort of like I'm quite. If you ever meet me in a coaching situation, I'm pretty friendly with everybody. I'm trying to be happy-go-lucky with everybody, but hopefully they understand that if you're doing stupid, dumb things, you'll be called out on it. And I think that's what because if you're not being called, if you're being called out on it, I honestly can't think that those professional rugby players that are on their field playing for the pinnacle of their career, playing for their home team, their international team, would continue to go out and make stupid fucking penalties and stupid fucking mistakes. Darcy, we were calling you brilliant last week, and you do 2 offside penalties within a row. What the fuck are you playing at? You know? And that's what just winds my ticket.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting thing.
Is it an accountability issue, top to bottom?
I think Townsend's not the only problem, but Townsend's the problem you can change.
Yes.
He's your biggest bang for buck change.
Yes. You can't change the players. We have the best players available to Scotland at the moment. You can't simply change them en masse. So you have to change the coaching setup. It's that simple. And Townsend, Johnny's point about, you know, can you see Townsend making the same kind of having the same kind of impact that the likes of Farrell has? I've been catching up on the Lions documentary. I watched it the first couple of episodes over the last couple of nights, and that actually went through my head watching Andy Farrell. And I'm thinking, I just can't see Townsend getting fired up or firing the team up.
I will never recover, and I know I've said this 4 or 5 times. I will never recover from the 2021 Lions tour documentary, seeing Gregor Townsend getting given the chance to do the pre-match team talk, and he fucking goes on this monotone about a documentary about the rumble in the jungle, and I was fucking basically falling asleep watching it. It is the least inspiring thing. And like, if that's Townsend in the dressing room, no fucking wonder that there's stupid penalties getting pissed out, that there's players switching off, that there's nonsense decisions getting made. Because if you come back into the dressing room after all that stupid stuff and Gregor Townsend looks at you and goes, I've been reading a book about decision making, and I feel like possibly there was a lack of decision making today, which is causing us a problem. You're going to go, I don't give a fuck. Listen to this idiot. Whereas if you do that and then you walk back into the dressing room and Andy Farrell's in there and he fucking chucks a bin at you, you won't do it again.
But Alan, what are you going to say? I don't want to cut you off.
No, I was just going to say that Townsend's roughly the equivalent of the teacher in Ferris Bueller's Day Off going, Bueller, Bueller, anyone?
But he is. You see, this is the thing, and this is what I don't. This is where I don't understand it because he did get to a point. Because I'm one of those people. You keep making stupid mistakes. You defend poorly, or you give away penalties when we're talking about not giving away penalties, and you just keep making. You don't fucking play for Scotland again until you sort your shit out. And there's plenty of other people out there, and okay, fair enough. Maybe we'll be shit for a couple of games because we've got youngsters coming in who are needing to be bedded in, etc. But I'll tell you what, I haven't seen fucking Harry Patterson back on the field, who looked like he wanted to play, and you know he has very little regard for his personal safety, but he looked hungry. And there's other players out there that want to do that sort of stuff. If these players are out there that are constantly making these mistakes, then they don't fucking play for Scotland.
Yeah.
And he did have the balls to do that, but it was the wrong fucking time, obviously, because it was Finn. And it was, you know, who did he drop in Ireland that went out because they went out partying? Was it Finn
Ali
again?
Price.
It was Ali Price he dropped. Now, he's got that in him to do that. Unfortunately, it was he gave the same. This I think he learnt with Ali Price, but with Finn, he gave the bullshit excuses that he wasn't on form. It's like, no. What you do is you call him out.
Mm-hmm.
Duhan's not playing because he's shite. His defence has been terrible for the last couple of times, and he needs to change a few things. You know, I fully believe that he's a fantastic player and he's an asset to Scotland rugby, but we're just need to do a bit more work on. That's what we as fans are gasping for. We're desperate for him to. Desperate for all these players and these coaches to come out and tell they'll give us some insight into actually what's going on. I want to see the documentaries where they're throwing fucking ice buckets around the changing room, or they're calling people out and saying, "Look, you need to do this to sort yourself out," or maybe not calling people out, making turning and saying, "I don't give a fuck what fucking four-wheel drive you fucking drive around in. Stop fucking putting the stupid step in because you need to actually learn how to play properly at 10 before you these sort of things. You want them to correct these problems. There seems to be this sort of coaching by committee now that just seems to be, I don't want to bring them down and I don't want to do this. I don't want to piss them off. I don't want to do... No. You're playing for Scotland. You need to fucking play for Scotland properly. If you don't, you don't play for us. Sorry, I went on the rant there, but I just find it really. I'm getting just fed up of it, to be honest with you.
No, I think genuinely the players, we know they're good players, right? We can call out individual errors and people have good games and bad games, but that was a collective collapse. That wasn't Sione had a bad game. The team collectively fucking collapsed with 25 minutes to play, right? There is one common factor to that, and it is coaching. And I say coaching because it might not necessarily be down to Dooney, but it's not the players. When you get a collective problem like that, it is the thing that affects the collective, and that is it's either environment or culture or psychology or whatever. For the whole team, they collectively shat the bed. Right? That's not one guy's having a bad day, right?
And it comes back to the bench. There was no consequence when the bed shitting started. See, when they start pissing penalties, the guy who's pissing penalties comes off, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I said earlier. South Africa did it on the Saturday. You gave away 2 penalties, you're off. If someone's bottle starts crashing, they come off, right? And I know we sound like we're picking on Blair Kinghorn, but if Blair Kinghorn's making positional mistakes, or he's not making it to tackles, or you said it to David on Sunday about last week, he's gone for a choke tackle when he should be going for a chop tackle. If those mistakes start creeping in, off he comes. Tom Jordan goes on. Jamie Dobie takes half a second longer to get to a ruck. And it's probably because he's gassed. It's not his fault. But he comes off and George Horn goes on. And it looks like if you are not doing what you need to be doing, someone else is going to come and do it. Because if you're leaving 3 guys on the bench for the entire game, you're bringing another one on at 71 minutes, another one on at 68 minutes, then what's happened is it looks like you get to fuck around and there's no consequence for it.
Yes. The implication of leaving George Horn on the bench is that Tooney thinks a completely fucking knackered Jamie Dobie is better than a fresh George Horn.
Yeah.
I don't fucking believe that.
Well, this whole thing, because obviously George Horn came onto the bench because Ben White called off because he was ill, right? And that's and fair enough. But I would have said, right, okay, fair enough. Maybe he was a bit concerned about George Horn, and it was a last minute change. So maybe okay, fair enough. We could probably say that's why he's kept him on the bench and then put him on for the last couple of minutes. But you don't do that with Tom Jordan. Tom Jordan was on the fucking bench from day one anyway. It's just, I don't know. I'm the SRU, Edinburgh Rugby, and Glasgow in a bit of it, because Glasgow are obviously changing slightly, and we'll maybe talk about Franco in a second. But they're too much of a safe fucking haven for the players at this moment in time. Nobody's coat is on a shoogly nail. Yeah. Within Edinburgh or Scotland at this moment in time, and as far as I'm concerned, every single player in that match day squad should consider their coat is on a shoogly nail at this moment in time.
And frankly, you could apply the same to Tooney.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know, he's been sitting back going, well, we've taken learnings, we're on the right path, we're getting there. We're now in fucking 9th place after 8 years, where we started in 5th. We are not on the right fucking path.
No.
Right?
Well, I think also, why is no one saying we've taken the learnings? What learnings have you taken? Because it seems to be the same things keep happening. So can you tell me specifically what learnings you've taken? Sorry, Mark, that might have been yours from the Facebook chat, actually.
I think it was, but yeah, you're absolutely
apologies.
Yeah. We're learning, and we've made improvements in last week, or we're improving as a team. Tell me where. We keep losing, so tell me specifically where these improvements are. Because if you're going to say our ruck speed is up by half a second on average, I don't fucking care. That's like my laptop's processing at 3 milliseconds quicker than your laptop. It doesn't fucking matter. They both do the same job.
Right. Well, we are going to have to move on because Johnny's sleep hygiene is not going to get any better if we continue going on. So what we'll do now is we'll move on to Mark. Are you ready for a fill up of your drink?
Yeah, I'll just go and do that now.
It's that time again to go on to the hands and what's been boiling your piss or ripping your knitting this week. And I've just noticed, Johnny, that you're looking very much like you'd have to say pleasant day neighbour and all this. What's the maids of
Handmaid's Tale. Do you not think I look like
Handmaid's
that?
Tale? You're looking a bit Handmaid's Tale there, Johnny. But then
it's fucking freezing.
It then puts pictures into my head, and that I need to get a fork to poke my mind's eye out with. So
I think Johnny looks like he's going to sell some dodgy droids to Uncle Owen.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for.
Futini. Anyway, so we'll move on. Right, who's starting? Who's got the juiciest one? Come on, hands up, boys. Who's starting?
Shall we do one of the ones from our wonderful patrons first?
Come on in. Let's go.
Bear with me.
All right, so you're not prepared at all.
I'm not prepared.
Do you want me to read the 3 very similar ones? There's actually a quite interesting one on Blue Sky, but 2 very similar ones. Jason Kirk says, how do they plan to lose to Tonga? They're a fucking shambles. Cyber Rotters says, what would it take at this point for Gregor to be fired? I feel like we've covered that. But then another one, and I think we have kind of talked about it a little bit from you, and what's an interesting one. Do you think Townsend starts staying in the bigger Six Nations now, assuming he, Darcy, and Duhan are all fit? Surely. Because he has shown his point of difference over Duhan the last 2 weeks, I think.
It depends on how you want to play, whether you want to play positive or negative rugby. And I don't mean that the wrong way with Kyle Stein, but Kyle Stein is an impressive and very incredibly highly rated defender. He's almost a Chris Harris now.
He's a good attacker, Steno. I think he's better than you give him credit for.
Well,
I think he's a lot closer to Sean Maitland.
First of all, that nickname needs to stop right now, Steno. That's ridiculous. But
that's his nickname.
You
Sorry that all your players have got pish nicknames.
You
That's
had
not
a
my
good
fault.
go about fucking Mark Bennett once, and you
Because you named him after
like,
you named him after a fucking, what do we call it? Drugs that bring you down.
anyway.
Alan, tell me what those kind of drugs are called.
Benzodiazepines. Benzo. That's what he
Benzo,
called
yeah.
them.
That's just the same as fucking Steno.
No, it's not, because it's not
Kyle
the
Stein
fucking.
is a
It's
fucking-
not the
Stein
fucking
was-
street
no
name
one
or a
is-
sleepy drug.
It
No
means
one
you
in
get the
Dundee
dog
is
shit
taking
stain out your
Stenos.
carpet.
Exactly.
Oh no, the dog shat in the carpet. It's okay. I've got a bottle of Steno just in the corner here for it.
Useful in a lot of situations. Just
Anyway,
because it's not Flash.
oh, did he talk to me about Flash and carpets? The last thing you need to do is put Flash in a fucking carpet to get a stain out. Ladies
Craig
and
should know he
gentlemen,
used to sell carpet hoovers.
Johnny.
It's been a long time since I've done that, to be fair.
Sorry, I'm sitting
I
there.
believe they sold Dyson vacuums.
Well, dickheads. Anyway, Mark, move on. Have you got any other hands in the ruck now, Mark?
Actually, yeah, I'm flicking through the people's. There was a comment from seriously before we get into the rugby stuff from somebody, an anonymous user, unfortunately, so I can't name check them, who'd had a fairly torrid time by the sound of things with a wheelchair user at Murrayfield. I grew up with a disabled brother, and I've been around disabled people all my life, so I know what it can be like in big crowds and in areas like that. I would just say to anybody who's listening, you don't even have to be nice, just be conscious. Be aware that people are there and have different needs. So thanks for that. I don't think there's any point in us going into it. We know Murrayfield needs an awful lot of work, but just be aware that people around you might have different needs to you. That's all.
And also different sense of humours as well.
And different sense of humour. Yeah, absolutely. The other ones are all. I think everybody knows we're pretty much going to have it covered. Matthew Riley. It was Matthew, and I do have a cousin Matthew, and this isn't him. I looked at his profile on Facebook. He's way too posh to be a cousin of mine. So he's not one of mine. He would like to apologise profusely for previous hands in the ruck, where he suggested that officiating might be the reason for our capitulations. Jimmy Gregory had said his hands in the ruck is that Scotland give him too many hands in the ruck to think about. The one that Pete Foster brought up, which I think does bear discussion given what we've spoken about, is he's posted in from Statman, Mr. Kevin Miller. Points scored in the final 25 minutes of Scotland's last 5 games via the top 12 in the world. In the last 25 minutes, it was Scotland 3, Argentina 33. Scotland 3, New Zealand 7, although I think somebody's corrected that and said it was New Zealand 8. Fiji 14, Scotland 0. France 12, Scotland 0. Scotland 0, Wales 21. And we just scraped a win in that. So that's an aggregate score in the last 25 minutes of the last 5 games against top 12 sides of 6 to Scotland, 87 to opponents.
Yeah, it's not great listening, is it? And it is. Although I have to say, the only time that ever worked in our favour, I think Johnny McGinty was sitting beside me or very close to me when all the Welsh fans were absolutely loving it round us and calling us all sorts of horrible names and flicking the V's and the finger and going, yeah, get it up, you're going to get pumped, you're going to, and we eventually won against them, and we got to be a bit more smug. That's the only time it's ever worked, but that's a personal thing rather than Scotland giving us, putting the shits up us on a regular basis. But yeah, it's not great reading, is it, boys?
If only I could work out what you should be doing in the last 25 minutes of a game that would stop you from pissing away so many points. There must be something.
So if only you could bring on
something that everyone else is doing that we're not doing.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, around the 20-minute mark, usually. 20 minutes to go. Yeah. It's a strange one, isn't it?
Yeah. Hands in the ruck. Alan, have you got any hands in the ruck for us tonight?
I have a hands in the ruck that might stimulate some debate from certain quarters. Glasgow fans that want Townsend, this subset of Glasgow fans that want Townsend out, but then in the next breath say, but not Franco.
You could just say it's me. I'm quite happy to say, yeah, it was
it's
me
not
that
just
said
you, Johnny. It is not just you. I mean, you're definitely the person I think
it was me that
that's
said
gonna
that,
make it.
and I stand by it because you can keep your fucking hands off Franco because there's another URC to come first. At least.
Actually, why do Glasgow and Edinburgh exist? Glasgow and Edinburgh exist to serve Scotland. Suck it up. Your club exists to serve Scotland.
Do they
And your
exist to serve
coaches.
Scotland? Listen.
Your coaches contracts with the SRU.
None of you ball bags would be saying that if Edinburgh were the good one.
Do you think I'm an Edinburgh fan? Fuck off.
Holy shit, there was dogs going around the whole of Cooper there going, what?
You know, I tend to sit on the fence about the pro teams, but I got to agree with Allan. Scotland comes first. And the SRU will do their usual massively extensive search, which will take them several months, and then pick Pete Horn.
I have no doubt, right, in my mind that this is what's going to happen, and I know how the SRU works, I know the system and all that, blah, 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 blah. And maybe it is a symptom of how disconnected I've become thanks to a combination of the outrageous ticket prices and the constant capitulations and the debacle after debacle with Tooney. But actually, I could not give less of a shit. I want to keep Franco at Glasgow because I enjoy watching Glasgow and I like seeing Glasgow do well. And maybe that makes me selfish and maybe it's not what we're supposed to do. But also,
maybe make you selfish.
Scotland have been a constant fucking disappointment for close to 10 years. They're trying to charge me nearly 500 quid to take my family to watch a game. The Glasgow family tickets are 50 quid. Glasgow play nice rugby. We're winning. I like watching Glasgow. I want to keep Franco because I want to keep enjoying Glasgow and I'm not enjoying Scotland.
That's fine. You can want, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
no, I know it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I know what's going to happen. Franco's going to come in and then you're going to get Pete Horn as your head coach.
I think
I'm fine with that.
The challenge is that, you know, it's almost like when we played Kinghorn at 10, you're actually weakening two positions.
Hey, whoa.
Kinghorn
was pretty good at 10, thank you very much.
You're playing your best fullback at 10, you're weakening both positions, right?
Edinburgh played lovely rugby at that point in time. We just didn't defend very well, that was all.
Right. But I do worry slightly if moving Franco to Scotland is doing exactly the same.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem with moving Franco to Scotland is he doesn't get enough time with the players, and I think the way Franco seems to work is he seems to create this sort of family, sort of don't disappoint me, father-like thing. And although he did well with Italy, I think, but it's difficult. I'm just contradicting myself constantly, Alan, and Alan's getting a bit frustrated with me.
Well, just a little bit. No, I think, look, he's got experience of the international game. And I did think about Johnny's point, because you said in the chat, leave him till the end of the season. But that's sacrificing another Six Nations and crucially sacrificing time he could be working with the players before coming into, you'd be talking, 18 months out from a World Cup. So actually, ideally, and it won't happen, but I think Townsend should go at the end of this Autumn Nations series. We should get a new coach in. I think it should be Franco. Here's a thought. Maybe we should have a whip round Scotland fans. Everyone puts a tenner in and we pay off Townsend's contract. And Aye.
I think
What are you going to do for me, Alan? Because I don't want to lose Franco, and I'll be really sad.
I'll buy you a sausage.
Has no one
supper
thought
for you.
about me in this scenario?
Get him a black pudding roll and put fucking cheese on it, even though it's
No.
just ridiculous. Cheese on a black pudding roll. Jesus.
At some stage, I will come to Fife and go to the one shop, Johnny, that you think does it right, and then we'll try it. I'm not optimistic.
Tuniku. Whoop, whoop.
Tuna Coup are very, very good.
Black
They do a
pudding
belly,
tatties
they do a
got a
belly
cheese roll.
buster wrap that is phenomenal.
Did any of you hear the interview with Roddy Grant on one of the other pods? I think it might have just come out today or yesterday.
The turncoat that
Yeah. He was trying to be very polite and political about it, quite rightly, because he is an SRU employee. But he has no doubt in his mind that Franco can move to international level. It's worth a listen.
Yeah. Johnny, hands in the ruck.
Well, I didn't have one, and now it's all you dicks suggesting that we need to give up Franco to come and fucking bail the rest of you out. Just because we're good and the rest of us are shite doesn't mean that we should have to sacrifice our good season and bail you lot out.
We
You should
drag you back down. We need to drag you
Hands
back
off
down to the
Franco.
depths of shit.
I'm sorry, but that from Brian gets comment of the night. Don't need to buy Tooney a plane ticket as Red Bull gives you wings. Thank you, Brian. That has made my night.
Have you got anything, Mark? Any hands in the ruck?
Oh, aye, yeah.
He's like one of those boys at the end of a meeting and it goes, any other business?
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I've got...
And brings out the notes.
Yeah.
We've probably done enough about. I mean, I feel the need to bring up Scotland fans, but
John Anderson would be proud.
Yeah.
particularly the Scotland fans that are still defending Tooney, and I've seen them on there defending Tooney and saying it's all down to the players. And I'll keep this short because we have mentioned it already. The players don't have a complete unilateral, we're all going to fucking drop the ball.
No.
That's not how it fucking works. It is coaching.
The players, sorry, Craig, that don't play for Edinburgh have won European Cups, Premierships, URCs, Challenge Cups, Champions Cups. Like, something happens to them when they come into the Scotland camp that makes them incapable of keeping their heads and winning. It's not them.
I actually found myself in a really bizarre position. I read an article on BBC recently and found myself agreeing with Chris Ashton, which is not something that happens very often. But he was talking about the Scotland game, and he said at the end, a happy team that's settled with coaching in just a good environment to be in doesn't get beat from 21-0 up. Yeah. And to me, that's the bottom line, and that's from a guy who has played rugby in both codes at the highest level.
It's a guy, crucially, who had to get a coach home from an away game because their fucking lunatic owner cancelled their flight back because they got beat. So he knows a thing or two about an unhappy relationship.
An unhappy environment.
Anything else? I'll give you my hands in the ruck in a second. You got anything else, Mark?
Have we, or do we want to talk about the TMO?
What, the Australian TMO that just
I thought he was Australian as well because he's got an Australian accent, hasn't he?
Yeah.
IRFU.
Irish
fucking course.
Yeah.
You don't even say anymore.
Yeah.
Fucking everything.
I have to say, I thought Andrew Grace had a good game.
Yeah.
I thought Argentina, I felt, got away with a wee bit on the floor to slow our ball down. But I think he was letting it go in the interest of keeping the ball flowing. And equally, we weren't doing enough to sort it out ourselves. And, you know, that's not criticism. It was just an observation from me. I thought he had a really good game. I thought the TMO really fucking overstepped.
I think as a general rule, TMO overreach is creeping in and it's really fucking winding me up. Because other than the very strongest referees, a lot of referees will let themselves be talked about by a TMO. There's a small handful. Luke Pearce is one of them. I'd say James Dolman maybe is one of them. Ben O'Keefe usually is one of them who will say, no, I think you're talking shite. But most other referees, if a TMO goes, okay, well, let me show you this. Well, let me show you this again. Well, let me show you this one more time. Well, let me slow it down and show you. Eventually we'll go, okay, fine, you can have a yellow card. And Brace did not want to give a yellow card.
Even to the degree at the Darge incident where Brace has said, nah, it's dynamic, it's just a rugby incident. Does everybody agree? The Fecker still turned around and said, I think you should have a look at it again.
Yeah.
90% of the referees, and we know exactly who they are, the likes of Matt Carley, people like that, would have looked at it again and carded them.
Yeah, and I think it's the same with but I think Brace then gave in because I think the Matero try, which I don't actually agree with it, because from what I saw, and it's supposed to be exactly what the TMO is seeing, I don't see that ball hitting the line.
If the TMO is only seeing those pictures, that was the other thing I wrote down about him. If the TMO is only seeing these pictures, then he's seeing an imaginary line.
Because there's no concrete proof that touched the line. Because it comes down the grass, yes, the ball hits the grass, but the ball hits it. No. You can't see whether it's the line or which side of the line it is. It just, But I thought he was Aussie, so obviously, whenever you say it's Irish, well, you know exactly what the fucking problem is.
Only how to try that we beat France.
Well. So, just to finish up, my hands in the rock, it's pretty flippant, but it's to do with England. Up until the New Zealand came onto the field, they were a poor side. Everyone's playing against a poor New Zealand squad. They're terrible. They're not the best. They're not fine at the top. And then when England beat them, and they're the fucking world chat. They're the biggest team in the world. Oh my God! What a fantastic thing. And then the worst thing I heard. Now I quite enjoy listening. It's my guilty pleasure. I quite enjoy listening to For the Love of Rugby with Dan Cole and Ben Youngs. But I've heard this quite a few times now, and it came out of their mouths as well. The Pom Squad.
Yeah, I have seen that written down somewhere.
What the actual fuck?
Yeah,
it's typical England rugby. They can't get anything original. They have to try and adopt something for the outlets. Like, I'm sorry, but that is fucking awful.
Yeah, can I point out that is a pun too awful for me to consider it? And listeners,
that's weird because it's about the only one I've enjoyed in about 6 months.
So at that point, I think we'll call it at that because I'm not going to talk about it anymore. It's disgusting, it's despicable, and it should never happen again. It should not be uttered again. Anyway, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time. And Jonny, thanks for disturbing your sleep a little bit extra long. And I hope that your cleansing operates well. That's what the hood's for. It's a sort of,
it's my cult hood.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jonny, you'll soon see Jonny coming out as a cult leader, and he'll start telling you about sleep hygiene and cleansing.
Sorry that I'm trying to look after my well-being, Craig.
You see, there we go.
You call him a cult the other day.
It's good. I'm sorry of my calmness and my healthy sleeping habits upset you, Craig. Yes, cult leader. Thank you very much. The leader is great. The leader is good. Anyway, we will leave it at that. Thank you so much, Allan, Jonny, Mark, for joining me tonight. Thank you all to the Patreon members of our esteemed podcast. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and also supporting us as usual. Guys, thank you again, and we'll say good night. Good night.
Good night, folks.
Good night.
It's not all that bad.
It's worse.